Usually when you move into a new commercial space, like a physical storefront or a warehouse, you do a walkthrough.
Right. You get the keys and you check the place out.
Exactly. You check the light fixtures, you look at the back room, and you know exactly what square footage you're paying rent for, month after month.
Yeah, it's all laid out in the lease.
Right. And you wouldn't suddenly, you wouldn't hire a contractor to build a secondary storage closet if there was already a perfectly good, massive empty vault sitting down in the basement,
No, of course not.
completely unlocked and ready to use, right?
Yeah, you just put your inventory in the vault. I mean, the space is already yours. It's baked into the lease. Building a duplicate closet would be a massive waste of capital.
But when you step into the world of e-commerce, tech stacks, specifically, mapping out a Shopify store's architecture, that standard floor plan just sort of seems to vanish.
It really does.
We're looking at a software landscape where merchants are routinely paying a monthly contractor fee to build a closet they actually already own.
It's a profound contradiction in the e-commerce ecosystem. Budget reviews are just filled with these phantom line items.
Totally.
Like subscriptions that merchants genuinely believe are critical infrastructure,
Yeah.
but are actually completely redundant.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our guide for today's deep dive is a phenomenal breakdown from August 25th, 2026, comparing Shopify's native forms against the paid app ecosystem.
Yeah, it's a great read.
And our mission here is to reconcile a massive, glaring mystery.
Yeah.
There's this phantom line item in almost every merchant's app budget.
Yep.
It's a form builder they probably installed, a couple of years ago, set it to collect emails or SMS numbers, and then just completely forgot about.
Just left it running in the background.
Right. And the mystery is, why on earth are we paying a recurring monthly fee for data capture when Shopify provides a highly capable native forms app completely free of charge?
The central irony of this whole situation, it really comes down to visibility. Because the native Shopify Forms app is a finished, fully functional product. It's not a watered-down light version designed to, annoy you into an upsell.
It's not a trial.
Exactly. But the reason that phantom line items survives budget review after budget review is that the native app, it doesn't come installed by default on any Shopify plan.
Oh, that is so weird.
Yeah, you actually have to go into the App Store and actively provision it. Because it's not switched on the moment you initialize a new store, people just assume they're starting with zero form capability.
So they immediately seek out a third-party solution.
Right.
It's exactly like the landlord never handing you the key to that basement storage vault. You don't know it's theirs. You go rent a commercial unit down the street for like $50 a month.
Yes, exactly.
You're paying for capability you already have the rights to.
Yeah.
So let's audit the specs of this hidden vault. If a merchant goes and provisions this native app today, what is the actual, mechanical ceiling of what they're getting?
The capacity is surprisingly robust, honestly. A single store architecture can support up to 25 forms running concurrently.
25, that's a lot of forms.
Yeah, and within each of those forms, you can configure up to 31 distinct fields.
Oh.
Furthermore, you aren't forced to choose between display behaviors. You can deploy a pop-up form that triggers over the screen while simultaneously running an inline form embedded natively within a specific page section.
Oh, nice.
And neither that 25 form limit nor the 31 field density changes based on your Shopify tier.
Wait, really? So it's just standard across all plans?
Right. The app itself has no paid infrastructure, so the limits are absolute across the board.
When I first scanned the source material, I made the classic assumption that a free native form would essentially be, a basic text block for a first name, an email address, and a submit button.
A lot of people think that.
Right, but a 31 field capacity implies a completely different level of data intake.
To take that a step further, the structural variety of those fields is what typically shocks developers.
Okay, how so?
Well, developers often assume they have to integrate a paid tool for complex data arrays. But we aren't just talking about plain text strings here.
Right.
You can configure bounded number fields, like forcing a customer to select a number within a strict range.
Oh, that's handy.
Yeah. You have drop-down lists for categorical data, multiple choice checkboxes for tagging, and perhaps most critically, the one feature that usually triggers a paid app search.
Let me guess, the file upload field.
The file upload field, yes.
Let's examine that file upload capability closely, actually, because the source documentation draws a very sharp boundary here.
It does.
The native app does support file uploads, but it institutes a hard cap at 20 megabytes.
Which is somewhat small for certain industries.
Right, and additionally, it restricts the intake to very specific file types, like GIF, JPEG, PDF. But there is no support for Microsoft Word documents, for instance. And there's definitely no pipeline for a, 40 megabyte video file.
No, definitely not.
So if I'm running, say, a high-touch custom manufacturing shop, and I require my clients to submit heavy video briefs explaining their tooling requirements, I hit a brick wall immediately, right? I cannot use this native app.
That is exactly right. And that specific mechanical boundary is what drives the SaaS form builder market.
Okay, makes sense.
Processing, scanning, and hosting heavy unstructured files, like massive video formats or proprietary document types, it costs significant server bandwidth.
And security overhead, I'd imagine.
Huge security overhead. That's why paid apps charge a premium for it. When you upgrade to a paid form tool to accept a 50 megabyte video, you aren't paying for the basic ability to upload a file.
Right, you're paying to bypass Shopify's bandwidth and security restrictions.
Exactly. Identifying that exact friction point is how a merchant rationally justifies the subscription cost.
Okay, so if Shopify is giving away the ability to capture detailed arrays of data and handle moderate file uploads for free, we also really have to look at the recent updates.
Oh yeah, the recent changes are big.
Right. Just a few weeks prior to the guide's publication, August 6, 2026, Shopify pushed an update that natively integrates WhatsApp marketing consent directly into the Form app.
Yeah, that was a massive addition.
So now a merchant can map email, SMS, and WhatsApp opt-ins natively, mapping that consent directly to the customer profile without stringing together a bunch of third-party webhooks.
Integrating a third communication channel like WhatsApp into a compliance-heavy opt-in flow is traditionally the exact type of premium feature that platforms use to gate their higher pricing tiers.
Oh, absolutely. They love charging for SMS and WhatsApp integration.
Right. So by baking that consent architecture directly into the free native tool, Shopify fundamentally shifts the baseline of what merchants should expect to pay for list growth.
So if a merchant can handle 3 channels of compliance, accept basic file uploads, and run 25 unique forms across their site without paying a dime, where does the architecture actually break?
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Right, where is the definitive edge of this free capability?
The source material performs a brilliant audit here. They categorize the limitations into 2 distinct buckets.
Okay, what are they?
The unsupported walls, which are explicitly documented by Shopify, and the absent walls, which just simply do not exist in the codebase.
Let's start with the unsupported boundaries.
Yeah.
These are the mechanical limitations you have to build your database strategy around.
Right.
The first one is the total lack of conditional logic. The native app, it operates on a static schema.
Yes, very linear.
There is no simple branching, meaning you can't query a user and then manipulate the page to show or hide subsequent fields based on their previous input.
Think about it from a database processing perspective. Building a static form is straightforward because the data mapping is linear.
Right. Name, email, submit. Done.
Exactly.
Right.
But the moment you introduce conditional branching, like if they select dog, show the dog breed dropdown, but if they select cat, skip to the end.
Right, yeah.
You're asking the browser to evaluate logic rules in real time before the data is even committed to the server. Shopify explicitly avoids hosting this logic evaluation on their free native forms.
Okay, that makes sense. And the second documented wall is the absence of multi-step forms. From a conversion rate optimization standpoint, that is a massive hurdle.
Oh, it's a deal breaker for a lot of brands.
Yeah, because the psychology behind a multi-step form is rooted in micro-commitments.
Right.
Like if you ask a user for 10 pieces of information at once, their cognitive load spikes and they just bounce. They close the window.
It's too much friction.
But if you present a single low-friction field, which is an email address, they cross that psychological threshold. And once they hit next, the sunk cost fallacy kicks in, making them far more likely to provide their phone number and their birthday on step 2.
The reality is that multi-step forms require the application to temporarily store state data between screens before the final payload is submitted.
Oh, I see. So it's holding onto the email while asking for the phone number.
Exactly, and that requires a more complex front-end architecture because the native app rejects multi-step mechanics entirely. Merchants who rely on that specific psychological trigger to lower their customer acquisition cost, they have no choice but to migrate to a paid tool.
Okay, so moving beyond what is unsupported, we hit the absent walls. The authors of the guide scoured the documentation around August 23, 2026, and they isolated two massive missing components.
Yeah, these are big ones.
First, the native app offers no custom CSS or HTML injection to override the styling.
Right, not at all.
Second, and vastly more important, there is absolutely no built-in A/B testing infrastructure.
The lack of custom CSS is often, it's kind of a red herring for newer developers who want pixel-perfect alignment with their brand guidelines.
Really? Why is that a red herring?
Well, the native styling inherits the theme's global colors and typography automatically.
Oh, so it usually looks fine out of the box.
Exactly, which satisfies the visual requirement in the vast majority of use cases. But the absence of A/B testing is a critical operational bottleneck.
Because you can't just manually hack a split test for a pop-up form.
No, you really can't.
A/B testing isn't just about designing two different forms. It requires a traffic routing engine that splits sessions evenly, tracks the unique conversion events of each variant, and then, calculates the statistical significance.
All right, it's heavy lifting.
Yeah, you either possess that traffic routing mechanics on your server, or you are entirely flying blind on what messaging actually converts.
And without that testing infrastructure, a merchant is forced to rely on sequential testing.
Which is like running Form A for a month and then Form B for a month.
Yeah, exactly. Which completely invalidates the data due to shifting traffic quality and seasonal variables.
Oh, sure. Because October traffic behaves totally differently than November traffic.
Exactly. So if a merchant hits one of these definitive walls, maybe they realize their conversion strategy relies on the micro commitments of multi-step form, or they demand statistical A/B testing to optimize their ad spend.
Then they have to enter the paid app ecosystem.
Yes.
But the source material makes a phenomenal point here about how these paid apps are categorized and how merchants fundamentally misunderstand what they are actually purchasing.
Shopify's App Store architecture shelves these applications in vastly different categories because their core utility is different.
Right.
Yet merchants constantly just Google best Shopify form apps and compare them in a flat list. That is a dangerous analytical error.
It really requires a better mental model. Like, think of a form builder app, like a specialized clipboard and pen. You are paying for the physical mechanism of capturing the data in a highly customized way.
I like that analogy.
But an email and SMS platform is your postal service.
Yeah.
You're paying for the trucks and the logistics to actually deliver the message.
Right.
And a pop-up suite is like a highway billboard. You're paying for the advanced targeting, the location placement, and the traffic visibility.
That distinction is paramount. What's fascinating here is how the guide isolates these three classes. Class 1 consists of dedicated form builders, applications like POWR Hulk or AAA.
The clipboards.
Exactly. When you subscribe to these, you're buying the advanced mechanics, the conditional branching logic, the multi-step state management, the custom CSS injection. You are renting an advanced clipboard.
Got it. And Class 2 encompasses the email and SMS platforms, with Klaviyo being the, ubiquitous example.
The postal service.
Right. When you pay Klaviyo, you're buying the postal service. The subscription underwrites the deliverability algorithms, the automated triggered flows, and the massive data processing required to actually send targeted campaigns.
The confusion arises because Klaviyo, the postal service, hands you a free clipboard to make sure you can get addresses into their system.
Well, that makes so much sense.
But you're not paying the subscription fee for that basic clipboard.
Yeah.
Class 3 involves pop-up and list growth suites, such as Privy, where the financial investment secures advanced display targeting.
So you're paying to trigger a specific form only when a user exhibits a certain exit intent velocity or like a specific cart value. Understanding that categorization fundamentally alters how a merchant audits their tech stack. I mean, if you blindly cancel your email platform just to save money on forms because Shopify gives them away for free, you just fired your entire postal service.
You'd be shooting yourself in the foot.
You lose the automated revenue-generating flows that actually sustain the business.
This brings us to the underlying SaaS business models, which the guide terms the free versus free paradox. It's basically a masterclass in pricing psychology.
Oh, the pricing traps. Let's talk about those.
Yeah. Paid form builders almost universally utilize volume gating on their free tiers. They cap the number of successful submissions you can process in a month. POWR, for example, limits you to 25 submissions. Hulk restricts you to a single form with 50 submissions.
Which is functionally useless for a scaling business. I mean, a store running profitable ad traffic will burn through 25 form submissions before their morning coffee.
Exactly. The app developers know that submission volume is a direct proxy for your revenue.
Oh, that's sneaky.
If your form is getting filled out, your business is growing, and they force you into a paid tier to handle that success.
But Shopify's native app inverts this model entirely, right? They utilize feature gating instead.
Yes. Shopify offers infinite submission volume. You could process 10,000 leads a day for free.
Wow.
But they withhold the complex mechanics like conditional logic. Because Shopify makes their margin on your overall platform GMV, they don't need tax your form submissions.
Right. They just want you selling more stuff.
Exactly. They generously provide the exact resource that third-party apps restrict to force upgrades.
And that makes the pricing traps in the App Store incredibly dangerous if you don't know your specific mechanical boundary. Like a merchant sees an entry price of $11.99 a month for a tool like POWR.
Seems cheap.
Right? But if their specific bottleneck is needing multi-step forms, the very thing Shopify doesn't do, they'll find that features are actually gated behind the Pro plan at over $20 a month.
Yeah, the costs creep up fast.
Hulk starts at $9.90, but multi-page state management requires a $24.90 tier.
Or consider the architecture of an app like AAA. They provide conditional logic on every single pricing tier, which seems like a massive advantage over Shopify.
Okay, so what's the catch there?
They monetize by form count. If a merchant wants to run 10 different landing page forms, they suddenly face a $49 monthly invoice.
Oh, wow.
They're paying a premium for form volume, which is the exact capability Shopify provides for free.
So what if I'm already heavily invested in a Class 2 tool? Let's say a listener is paying Klaviyo a couple $100s a month for their marketing automations.
Okay.
Should they rip out the Klaviyo pop-up and replace it with a Shopify native form to somehow optimize their stack?
Absolutely not. Migrating the data capture from Klaviyo to Shopify in that scenario introduces unnecessary latency and integration risk for zero financial gain.
Because the Klaviyo invoice pays for the data processing and email deliverability.
Right. The form is simply a bundled acquisition mechanism. The strategic advice from the guide is clear. Retain Klaviyo, utilize their native forms for seamless data mapping, but stop mentally accounting for the form as a line item expense.
So treat the form as a complementary utility attached to your delivery engine.
Exactly.
Although the guide does highlight a brilliant architectural loophole for nascent stores. Klaviyo's free tier uniquely bundles both forms and statistical A/B testing infrastructure for up to 250 contacts.
That's a great call-out.
Right. So if a merchant has a small database but desperately needs to calculate the statistical significance of a pop-up variation, they can leverage that free tier to cross the testing boundary without generating a new invoice.
The theory is crucial, but applying it requires a systematic approach. The source outlines a highly actionable 30-minute operational audit called the 7-step rebuild test.
So what does this all mean in practice?
The core philosophy of this test can be distilled into a single directive. Rebuild the form before you review the invoice.
Rebuild the form before you review the invoice. I love that. That forces the merchant to physically map their data architecture rather than just relying on assumptions.
Exactly.
I imagine step one is simply realizing you have to go to the App Store and actively install the free Shopify Forms app.
Because again, it's not there by default. But step 2 is where the actual audit happens. You take the live, paid form currently running on Hulk or POWR and attempt to recreate it field for field inside the native Shopify environment.
So the comparison has to be grounded in tangible execution, not just reading abstract feature lists.
Right. Once the fields are mapped, step 3 dictates that if your compliance strategy involves SMS or WhatsApp marketing, you must insert the dedicated phone number field.
Oh, because the consent engine natively follows the field type, right? You can't trigger an SMS opt-in workflow without a validated phone input.
Exactly. You need the right field for the right compliance.
Step 4 is where the database mapping gets deeply interesting, because a form submission is entirely useless if the data just sits in a static table.
Yeah, nobody wants a dead spreadsheet.
Right. The architecture requires you to route that data somewhere actionable. And in Shopify's ecosystem, custom fields generated in a form are automatically converted into customer metafields.
Which is huge. Metafields are essentially customizable data extensions for your primary customer objects. They allow you to attach highly specific, non-standard information directly to a user's profile in the database.
Okay, so give me an example of how that works in real life.
Sure. So if a merchant builds a native form asking, are you shopping for a toddler, a teenager, or an adult?
Okay.
And the user selects toddler, that selection doesn't just sit in a spreadsheet. It is permanently mapped as a meta field on that customer's unique profile ID.
Oh, that's brilliant. So the merchant can then utilize Shopify's backend to generate a dynamic segment containing only users with the toddler meta field.
Exactly. And when they launch a new line of toddler apparel, they query that specific segment for highly targeted email distribution. The freeform didn't just collect a string of text, it actively structured the future marketing matrix.
It natively binds the data collection to the segmentation engine. That is so powerful. However, the guide does emphasize a critical mechanical trap here when dealing with database overwrites, specifically concerning repermissioning existing users.
Yes. This is a major database limitation.
Right, so if an existing customer, someone who already possesses a profile ID in your Shopify backend, if they submit a newly deployed native form, the system does not automatically overwrite their core profile data.
Right, because the database prioritizes existing primary keys to prevent accidental data corruption.
Okay, so if a customer is logged into your system with an old email address and they fill out a new native pop-up using a completely different email address just to capture a 10% discount code.
Shopify will not automatically replace the old email with the new one. Furthermore, the source notes that marketing consent states might not automatically update for existing profiles via these forms.
Right, so modifying core profile data like primary email addresses or consent timestamps for existing users requires manual intervention by the store admin or complex API routing.
Which is a headache.
Huge headache. If a merchant's entire operational strategy relies on customers constantly updating their own contact information via generic pop-ups, the native app's database protection rules will create a massive administrative bottleneck.
And that exact mechanical friction is why the rebuild test is mandatory. You must observe how the native tool interacts with your specific data architecture.
Okay, so after dedicating 30 minutes to this rebuild, a merchant will arrive at one of two definitive outcomes, right?
Exactly two. The first outcome is a perfectly functional, natively integrated form that handles all necessary data routing, allowing the immediate cancellation of the third-party subscription.
Which is the dream scenario. You just save that monthly fee.
Right. The second outcome is that you hit an undeniable architectural wall. But the immense value here is that you can now state your exact mechanical boundary in one single sentence.
Oh, I see. You aren't just vaguely paying for a form app anymore.
Exactly. You can definitively state, I am paying $24 a month specifically because my database requires conditional branching logic to segment users in real time.
Or, I am paying a premium strictly to ingest and host 50 megabyte custom video files.
Right. That single sentence isolates the exact capability underwriting the invoice. It transitions the merchant from passive software consumption to active architectural management. It forces total clarity on the tech stack.
It fundamentally shifts the perspective. I mean, optimizing a budget is beneficial, but possessing a granular understanding of your own infrastructure, like knowing the precise mechanical function of every single dollar deployed, that is the actual competitive advantage.
To close this out, there is a final, highly provocative thought embedded deep within the source material's use cases.
Oh yeah, I saw this. This was mind-blowing.
Throughout this entire analysis, we've framed forms exclusively as top-of-funnel marketing mechanisms, tools designed to harvest email addresses or distribute discount codes.
Right, the standard acquisition playbook.
But the guide explicitly notes that Shopify Forms can be engineered to serve as a company account request mechanism.
So it can route data beyond standard retail customer profiles.
Precisely. The input from the form can be configured to land directly within the company's section of the Shopify backend.
Wow.
This creates a staging area where the store operator can manually review the submitted credentials, verify tax IDs, and approve the submission as an official B2B wholesale buyer.
It operates as a secure gatekeeper for wholesale architecture. That completely reframes the utility of the tool.
It raises a profound operational question. If a free native application possesses the back-end routing capability to manage secure B2B trade approvals, what other complex internal processes could it absorb?
Oh man, that's a great point. Merchants are routinely paying thousands of dollars annually for specialized CRM platforms to handle vendor onboarding flows, internal maintenance requests, or custom manufacturing intake pipelines.
Exactly. Could those entire operational workflows be fully replaced by a creatively mapped 31-field native Shopify form?
It challenges merchants to stop viewing forms strictly as marketing assets and start weaponizing them as free programmable automation triggers for their entire back-office infrastructure.
It really is a paradigm shift.
So to everyone auditing their tech stack this week, go check the basement. Map out exactly what capabilities you're already leasing before you hire a third-party developer to build them again. Run that 30-minute rebuild test, isolate your mechanical boundaries, and see how much of your operational overhead you can eliminate with the tools you already own. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.